The word of the day is delusional. There's no better word in the English language to describe the incoherent, completely out of touch ramblings of the U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. U.S. Central Bank Chief says Trump can't fire him. Now, I'm not sure if this is evidence of the guy needing a wellness check, or whether he's drunk with power, or he hasn't even read a newspaper in the last 25 years. But believe me, if the events transpire in a way in the next 3 months that allow Donald Trump to be inaugurated into office in January, Mr. Powell, he could literally have you gone within the day. Don't think so? Stick around. There's something a lot of people have forgotten about, and it's going to make people think for a minute. Now, as always, gratitude. Thank you so much to everyone who continues to join us over the Florida Maquis Patreon channel, where it's only one single US dollar per month at the base level, and even less than that if you sign up for an entire year. And if you're worried about commitment, fully refundable first 90 days, no questions asked. It's now the 9th of November. It would be the 9th of February. It would be the 9th of February before you would have to make a decision about whether you would want a full refund or not. Now, most recently, we put up a video for all of those of you over there. There's 4 levels, 1, 5, 10, and 15. The next video that we're going to put up, probably going to be up by tomorrow afternoon, is going to be for the Need to Know Roundtable. That's for folks at the $5, $10, and $15 levels. And it's going to be a doozy of a video. The videos over there are not like the videos here, where we've got to maintain some level of, PC language and topic choice. It's the best way to say it. Over there, we can take the gloves off, and we can talk about what we want to talk about. Now, would love to have you over there. God bless all of you who already are. Thank you so much. Very much appreciate it. Mr. Powell, sir, back around the turn of the millennium, up in New York and around the Pentagon, there were some events that occurred that were fairly catastrophic, and it caused a wholesale change in the way government operated. And they passed something called the Patriot Act, and it gave the executive branch and other governmental agencies wide latitude in determining who was a threat to national security. So believe me when I tell you, Mr. Powell, if the President of the United States, by executive order, deemed you a threat to national security, or he just had his director of Homeland Security do such, not only would you not be reporting to your office at the Federal Reserve that day, it would be very, very likely that you wouldn't be sleeping in your bed for quite a long time. And speaking of time, you would have plenty of it. Plenty of it to, what's the word being used by the mainstream media now? That's right, you would have time for introspection. Lots of it. Because nobody would ever hear of you again, because that's how the mainstream media works. They'd be upset about you for 7 days, 8 days, but the news cycle would change. And you would just disappear. Completely from history, you would be a footnote. That's how things work. You are delusional. If I were you, if he asks, graciously thank everyone for your time allowed to serve, and go find someplace nice and warm and sunny and disappear yourself. Now, this all having been said, I think it is incumbent for me to explain a little bit more about the videos of the last 3 to 4 days. I made the assumption, and perhaps I shouldn't have, that people in this country understood how the Electoral College worked versus the popular vote, and why all of those different states had disparate numbers assigned to them. Your vote on Election Day, and for those of you who understand this, bear with me, please. Not everybody does. Your popular vote, number one, is a vote that is only relevant in your state. We do not have a national election for president, regardless of what any of the media tells you. Fox, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS. We do not have a national election for president. We have 50 independent state elections. And then, as a result of those state elections, news organizations say they can project that. Do you know why they use that language? Can project that. Very legalistic language. Because it's not official. Those state results mean nothing. All that does is determine a slate of electors. And in some states, not all those electors are bound to vote in accordance with the results of the popular vote in their state. But in many other states, they are not bound. Now, it's usually never been a problem because the uniparty, Republican and Democrat, have always been somewhat united. Well, now they're fractured. Now they're fractured in a very, very bad way. And let me give you the timeline of events. We've already had Election Day. This is where the states have their independent election. November 5, 2024. First Tuesday after the first Monday in November. During the general election, your vote helps determine your state's electors. When you vote for a presidential candidate, you aren't actually voting for president. You are telling your state which candidate you want your state to vote for at the meeting of the electors. The states use these general election results, also known as the popular vote, to appoint their electors. The winning candidate's state political party selects the individuals who will be the electors. Asterisk. States that appoint electors by popular vote, currently all but not required by the Constitution, may include a modified voting period necessitated by force majeure events that are extraordinary and catastrophic as part of quote-unquote election day, false flag incoming. False flag incoming. By December 11, 2024, this year, states must issue a certificate of ascertainment. It's basically just a piece of paper. December 17, 2024, electors vote in their states. In their states. And then they create copies. One goes to the archivist. Others go other places. December 25, the electoral votes arrive. December 25, 2024, Christmas Day. Electoral votes must be received by the President of the Senate, currently Kamala Harris, and the archivist no later than the fourth Wednesday in December. If votes are lost or delayed, the archivist may, but doesn't have to, take extraordinary measures to retrieve duplicate originals. On or before January 3 of next year, the archivist transfers certificates to Congress. January 6, here's where it happens. Congress counts the electoral votes. January 6, 2025, Congress counts the electoral votes. This is when it all happens. Now, this is why I have been talking about watch these numbers. Watch these numbers. This screenshot that you're looking at right here is from Wednesday morning after Election Day. Alaska hadn't been called yet here. This is actually from that night when Donald Trump had won. Kamala Harris had 67.2 million votes. Donald Trump had just a little over 72 million votes. Okay, that's important. Now, let's go to the next day. My first video. She's up to 68.1. He's up to 72.7. She's starting to reel him in. The next day, they reflect the same numbers, but the numbers are going up for her in California. And now, finally today, they have updated things. With Nevada now going for Mr. Trump, he's up to 301 electoral votes. But look at the popular vote. She's up to 70.38. He's only up to 74.3. You see, she has garnered over 3 million more votes since Election Day. And she has closed the gap by nearly 700,000 votes between her and Mr. Trump. And they're still counting in California. Why does that matter? You see, right now, everybody in the media is all like, oh, it's a total landslide, it's a total whitewash, and in the Electoral College it is. Even though in the swing states that decide this bigger number, 301 to 226, bigger visually, not bigger in total. If you took Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada, and the difference between them in total votes, it's only 750,000. Meaning you could give 750,000 votes away from Donald Trump to Kamala Harris and then show her in a landslide election in the Electoral College, and he would still be winning in the popular vote. That's why this is important. They're going to keep closing the gap out in California for her to inch her over him. And right now they're counting at the rate of about 3 votes for her to 1 vote for him. With about, 11.1. So they have about 6.7 million more votes to count. 6.7 million more votes to count out there. And there's more left in Oregon, some still left in Washington, and Arizona hasn't called yet. So they're going to inch her over the popular vote. Point. Then, because they've been calling this guy, they've been calling him a threat to national security, a threat to democracy, they are going to likely try to convince some what they call faithless electors, meaning Republicans, who are in states that Trump is now carrying, to either abstain from voting for him in the Electoral College meeting, vote for him in the Electoral College meeting, abstain from, or vote for, say, a Nikki Haley. Now, in the states you see in green, that would be meaningless, because they've, in those states, have already codified that their electors must vote with the result of the popular vote. It's a law in those states. It is not something the federal government has purview over because of the ruling of the U.S. versus Schiaffalo. It is up to the states to codify that. All the states you see in gray have done nothing about it. All the states that you see in pink, the vote would count. If they would decide, even though my state voted for Donald Trump, and it's winner take all in the Electoral College, I, individually as an elector, am going to abstain from, or I'm going to vote for someone else. In the states you see in pink and red, those votes would count. And more importantly, in the states that you see in gray, they haven't addressed it, so it could still happen. And the vote would count. And the person that is in charge of accepting those votes is the person who just lost the election. So you need to watch Georgia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Wisconsin, and even, I doubt it, but maybe Florida. Maybe, you see, if they tried it, for example, Republican electors in Arizona and Nevada couldn't do it. Why? Because they've passed laws out there that would void their vote. It would void their vote. I'm not sure if they would be able to replace the elector and then have that elector vote for Trump. But in the green, it wouldn't matter. But in the red states, the states that voted for Trump, that you see either in gray, red, or pink, there could still be a problem. And that was my point on this. And that's why I'm going to follow these totals every day. She's reeling him in. She's reeling him in out in California. The difference between them now, let's see, this is 68. Let's go. Well, hold on. Here we go. She's reeling him in. 70.383 to 74.3. So now it's less than 4 million votes. It's 3.9 million votes. On election day, it was 4.6. He was up over her 4.6 million votes. Now he's up only 3.9. And that's only in 3 days. 4, I guess, technically. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 4 days. So keep your eye on this. Keep your eye on this. If they can get Kamala Harris to catch up with or just sneak by Donald Trump in the popular vote, and remember, out in California, they have 17.8 million votes out there that they're going to count. Only 11.2 of them have been counted. So they got, we'll see, 11.2, 6.6 million more votes to count. 6 million more votes. And if they give her 4.5 more, 5 million more of those, they could make it very, very, very close. And that's all they would need to convince, pay attention. This is the key. This is where I lose a lot of people. That would be the trigger for them to be able to go to never Trumper Republicans. And there are a lot of them in the Republican Party. And say, look, this is what we need you to do. This is what we need you to do. They could even sabotage their entire state's vote by messing with some technicality in it. And that would give her the excuse to void or refuse, like, say, all of the electoral votes from Ohio or all of the electoral votes from Pennsylvania on a technicality and drop him below the 270. Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, her blue wall, her continue to fight statements, that's my point. You see, that's how these two topics tie together. Right now, the federal government in Washington, D.C. has way too much power. Way too much power. And people are all sorts of excited about it if that power ends up in the hands of Donald Trump. Because I'm sure when I was talking in the earlier part of this video, there are people all up in their feely-feels emotions, all sorts of, oh, dang right, Trump's going to come in there, blah, blah. And it's a very strange thing to hear them say. After so many years of complaining about the Patriot Act and saying it gives the government way too much power, it's funny that if you hand that power, that pretty much unregulated power to Donald Trump, you're all sorts of happy and excited. It's just when somebody you don't like or politically disagree with has that unchecked power that it makes you feel another way. And that's exactly how the left is feeling right now. I want everybody to jump back into the Wayback Machine and remember how you felt after the Patriot Act passed and it was in the hands of George Bush. Or it was in the hands of Barack Obama. That's now. Imagine that feeling across the entire left spectrum of the United States. Those people are fired up. And they are energized. They are a little depressed right now about the results of the election. That's going to wear off. And they're going to continue to fight. While you're patting yourself on the back and you are parked in your recliner with your feet up and your icy cold beer, waiting for Donald Trump to make your life better, waiting for Donald Trump to fix all of your problems for you, they're going to be energized. They're going to be activated. And they're going to be itching for a fight. While you think it's over. I want everybody to soak that up. Half the country is gunning up for a fight. The other half is parked in their recliner with their feet up and laughing and pointing fingers and drinking beer. Just saying. I will leave it there and let folks make their own decision. Love to have you over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. By tomorrow, I'll have a brand new video up. If not for you, like I said, I reiterate, there's no risk for the first 90 days. You decide to pledge, let's say, $1 a month. You pledge that $1 for this month, November, December, into January, and you're like, you know what? Florida Maquis, he's full of hooey. This is a bunch of garbage. You can go right to Patreon and say, you know what? I would like my 90-day refund, and all 3 of those dollars right back at you. No questions asked. So, God bless. Pray for each other. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.